to have Sister Mariam Mahmood here with us, who is an NASM certified personal trainer. And her work is focused on health and fitness, obviously. But she's worked in the YMCA as a youth and teen director, where she ran summer camps and other sports activities. Prior to her personal training experience, she has a background in comparative religion and philosophy. Very interesting switch. Um, she finds, I think this is so important, she finds that physical well-being and fitness are perhaps a struggle for our community because of the cultural inhibitions that we bring in to this knowledge, right? Or the lack of knowledge. So thank you so much, Mariam, for joining us and for advocating for health and fitness for our kids. And we're so lucky to have you. I'm going to hand it over to you. And let's get started. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shima. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I understand that this is around dinner time, before or after, so I really appreciate you taking the time and coming in. You know, it's almost like a chat between moms because I have 3 kids. My son is in Al-Hamra still. My older girls are in public school now. So I'm going to try to cover a topic that's very, very dear and near to my heart. I'm extremely passionate about this. I believe that there are parts of personalities, I'm going to say personality, but there are parts of our child's being that gets ignored because we were not raised with that awareness ourselves. And once we have kids, we are so busy that the part where you might want to go out and learn something kind of gets neglected because we are tired and fatigued. We are parents. We have too much to do. Being immigrant, living in a country that is not your native country also poses a lot of challenges. So keeping all of that in mind, I have put together some slides that I will walk you through. Basically, it's an experience. I would love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, we will do that at the end of the session. So let's get started. Okay, so I think the very first question that comes to mind is, what really is physical activity? We understand physical is your body and activity is just moving. So what do we really mean when we say that we are going to move our body? Anytime we move our skeletal muscles and we are using the body's energy, that is physical activity. What it does is it allows not only you to move forward in space, but it does a lot of other things for your body. It improves your brain functioning. It reduces the risk of disease. It strengthens your bones and it strengthens your muscles, and it improves the ability for you to do everyday activities. As we all know, physical activity is fundamental for kids. We all understand that it will be very hard for a child. It's basically impossible for a child to just keep sitting down. As mothers, we know that it's quite a struggle. So keeping that in mind, I just wanted to bring the human skeleton in front. Why do we have to move? Life is very comfortable and easy right now. We have houses that are warm in winter and cool in summer. Food is inside. We don't have to go hunt outside. Things are fairly very comfortable. We only have to get out of the house when we must, which is when we go to school or when we have to go meet a friend. So a lot of the necessary movements that we were making as a species have been eliminated because of the modern life. But if you look at the human skeleton, just the joints, the bones, the hinges, everything is really designed and created so that we can move. So if we do not move, what's wrong with that? Now that life is comfortable, let's just not move. I mean, even if we have a model that's designed to move, let's just not move. That's problematic because the body and the mind actually work really best when they are moving. You might know someone who actually works a lot better when they are moving. Maybe it's your kid, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's you yourself. When you're moving your body, you can think better. You feel like you have some sort of clarity, which is not there when you are sitting down. The body and mind, the brain development that we will talk about later, is actually designed in a way that you have to move your body. There is just no other way around. No matter how comfortable your life is, no matter how convenient everything is in your life, if you do not move your body, something is going to start to happen. You're not going to feel very good about yourself. You will find things that are not right in your head. You will not feel very happy, excited, content. Your emotions will range more on the negative side because your body is not producing the endorphins that it's supposed to when you are moving. So this is why I like to break it down, because many times our biggest reason for not doing anything physical besides the basic stuff is, well, I don't have to, because, it's, I don't have to do it, or I will do it later. As an adult, we can say that, but for children, this is so, so important that they do it today and that they do it every day. So let's focus a little bit on what physical activity looks like for kids. The beautiful thing is this, that their body and mind craves movement. You will see that kids naturally want to move. They're curious. They will go into places, try to climb, try to crawl, try to jump. They're very in tune with their surroundings, and they're always trying to know what is going on and what can we do. So when your kids are young, the best thing that you can do is just allow them to play. And as they get older, when they are in grade school, when they start having lessons, homework, try to create opportunities for them where they can still do these things. Hanging out with friends, moving their body, learning, social activity, and using their creativity. Let's move into a little bit of why physical activity is so important, especially for growing kids, and how it impacts their brain. I don't know how many of you have heard the word executive functioning or self-regulation. As an adult, that is something that sometimes we even struggle with, because it's these skills are so fundamental in our understanding of what we are and how we operate. So I'm sorry, did I move the screen? I did. Whoops. Okay. I gotta go back to where I was. Yes. Sorry about that. So the executive functioning is called executive functioning because it is the executive of the body. It's how the brain really decides what to pay attention to, what should we do right now, what are the things we should focus on, and what are the things we should ignore. It's a mental process that allows us to plan things, focus on things, remember things and instructions. Remember that part that we really struggle with our kids? We give them instructions and they don't remember. We turn around and we have to check again. Do you remember what I said? What are you supposed to do first? And then to juggle between tasks. As you get older, you kind of hone in these skills and you get better over time. But when kids are young, these things are really hard for them because their brain is not yet developed to understand these things. They will follow along with you, but they will make a lot of oopsies, like you don't know what happened. I've had the pleasure of working with younger Montessori preschool, first, second, third grade students at Al-Hamra for PE. And it is adorable when you try to tell them to do something. And honestly, they are trying to listen, but they get distracted very quickly. And also they're seeing what other people are doing. So the focus kind of shifts here and there. And then they will forget the steps because their brain is not there yet. It is developing. So as parents, what can we do? We can help them build these skills early on. Working memory, remembering, Like as parents, we all know how many times we repeat to our kids, go brush your teeth. Did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your teeth? And then we go on with every single thing. That's the ability to retain and maintain information. Mental flexibility, which is so important because that's what it comes to when your child decides that I'm going to do something right now and I'm going to finish it. That's a process that happens over time. And then self-control. We all understand this, that if you put a cookie box on the counter and you say that we're not eating it right now, we'll have it after dinner or after lunch, we know what happens. The impulse to eat the dessert or eat the sugar that is rewarding right away is so much stronger than staying focused and eating the meal and then moving forward. So resisting impulsivity and putting a goal, completing the goal, and then moving on to the next task. These are your executive functions, and the kids are learning. This is a process for them. And as parents, we can really help here. When our kids do make these mistakes, when they go through these obstacles that look like obstacles to us, because then everything gets prolonged, much longer for parents to finish a single task. That's an opportunity for us to help and recognize they are working on these skills. But at the same time, what we can do is we can increase their physical activity, because the more physically active they are, the more strong neural connections their brain will be making. I have a bone to pick with, with myself, with my family, with my friends, with my community, because I find that, and correct me if somebody would want to correct me, please do that. I find that we are, as a community, very focused on school. We're very focused on good grades. We're very focused on my child has to represent a certain way in the community. And that's what I want them to do. And that is the most important thing for them. And what we forget, that in the process of creating this mental image, we're trying to portray this mental image we have in our head that does not really match with the reality of our child. We do a lot of damage. I have done that. I have seen my sisters do it. I've seen many parents do it. We don't do it because we are trying to do it or because we are not good parents. We're actually very good parents. We're very devoted parents. And we believe that it is our job to raise that kid with all these things. And what we end up missing is that we do not cater to their needs. So the child will have good grades, but the child will not have proprioception in their body. They will not know where their body is in time and space. They will not be able to do a lot of the things that are physically fundamental for them to have a strong and healthy body. They will be fine now when they are a little kid, when they are a teenager, but as they will get older, health issues start to creep in. And if they get injured, that will be a problem because the injury will take longer. Physical education is as important as school. And there were times when I honestly believed that it is actually more important than school. Because if you don't know where your body is, you can be very smart in your head, but you're living in this body for the rest of your life. And if you don't give this awareness to your child, they will suffer. And I'm saying this because I have been that child. I have been that child who did not have any physical awareness because I never played anything, never moved my body as a child. I was a nerd. I was always reading. I had fantastic grades in school. I was a very well-behaved child. I just didn't know where my body was. And I paid a very big cost for that. Physical activity actually makes your brain bigger, like physically in mass. Your brain does get bigger as you move. When you move, your basal ganglia actually it gets bigger in size. It also leads to the development of neurological foundation. The more physically ordered activities you will do, the neural connections will get stronger, and the stronger neural connections will not get snipped out when the brain is doing the pruning. Because when you're young, your brain is so active. It has a huge storage of activities, connections. Many of them are useless because those activities are never repeated. So the brain snips them off. So the way to create a very cohesive brain is to keep repeating structured activities, like doing karate, where same movements are being repeated over and over and over again. And those connections are getting stronger. Running, moving your body, like you can put any example in there and it would work. And what happens when your brain actually starts, when your brain is actually starting to organize like that, that's a more cohesive brain. That's a stronger brain. That brain can learn things faster. That brain can manipulate information faster. That brain, you can say in local terms, is a smarter brain, is a brain that can figure stuff out. And wouldn't we all want that for our kids? The other thing that physical education does, it prevents sleep deprivation. When you're physically tired, your body is going to just pass out. You might not have any control over this, which is great for kids because, as we will talk later, sleep is fundamental for body growth. But now you will see kids who cannot sleep. How many parents can say that my kid has a hard time sleeping at night? But if they have soccer a day or if they have some sort of physical activity, they'll be sleeping in the car on the way back home. What is happening? Because these systems are supposed to work together. Physical activity also does great service when it reduces your daily buildup of stress. And I know I'm talking about kids, and how can kids have stress? Everything is taken care for them, right? We are the adults. We're doing all the heavy lifting. They don't have any stress. No, they do. They have a lot of stress and they don't know how to deal with it because they have no control over anything. So physical activity actually relieves that stress for them because it releases the endorphins that makes them feel good. And it makes flexible, happy kids. Physically flexible, but also emotionally and mentally flexible. These kids are more open to choices. They're going to want to try things that they have not tried before because the body is on a function that is more positive than negative. I just found this picture, which is quite an eye-opening picture. We don't need to know neuroscience to recognize that the brain is more active in the image after a 20-minute of walk, just a walk. We're not talking about strength training or running or climbing mountains, just a walk. And that's everybody's brain. So imagine how that would impact your young child who's sitting there with all these neurons going on because they're growing and there's nothing to do. That's when kids act out. So that's the connection with that. So, okay, now we know physical activity is very important. It's very good for my child's health. It's important for their brain. What are we supposed to do? How much? How much is important? So a basic rule would be at least an hour. At least an hour every day. And they can pick and choose. You don't have to dictate them that this is what you're doing. Let them pick for themselves. Let them choose. They will actually stick with that activity more if they choose. I think the biggest understanding or misunderstanding that I find common is that when kids are doing all these things, their heart rate increases. Sometimes they get out of breath. Kids who don't have very good lung capacity, they can start coughing. And as parents, and especially in our culture, we freak out pretty quickly. We're like, oh my God, is my kid going to be okay? Should he be doing this? It's very important that they do run out of breath because what they're doing is they're increasing their lung capacity. What they're also doing is they're building those natural bypass veins in their heart. So runners and swimmers have bigger hearts. This is something that I got to know when my father had a heart attack a year ago, that there are some people who have natural bypass. And I was like, wow, what is this? So I started digging into it, and turns out that people who play sports growing up as a child, their hearts are bigger and they have these secret canals of veins in there. So if they do have an artery blockage, the heart figures out there's other places that the blood can flow through. So this is not just for right now, this is for the rest of their life. They can expand their lung and heart capacity right now. Kids that are older, 13 years and older, they can start lifting weights, small weights with assistance, with help, but they can do it. And their body will actually really take on all that stimulation. I understand that parenting is very hard. It's probably the hardest thing you do. It is never ending. There's no reward for it. Like in the right now, if you're looking for instant gratification, it's hard. But deep inside, there's this primal drive inside of us as a parent that we want to see our kids clean and well-fed and happy. And when we see that, we are filled up with something. We're like, yes, I'm doing it right. That's all what we want to see. So how can I encourage my child to move their body? What are the things that I can do? I think there's one factor that plays a very big role here. I think we get very carried away with the fact that I see a game or a sport as a good sport, and now my kid should do it. And my kid should do well in it. That's another thing. So we need to recognize that kids have different personalities. Some kids like to play sports that are a team sport. They really thrive in that. They love doing it with their friends. They love competing. They have a ball. They really enjoy it. Then you have some kids who don't want to be with a group. It just doesn't work for them. They would do better if it's one-on-one or if it's just by themselves. So look at your child. Look at what kind of sport they actually enjoy. And if you can't figure it out, please ask them. They would love to tell you that I find soccer the best thing in the world, and I wish I could play every day. Or I don't like doing that. I don't want people, they're very loud and my head hurts and I don't like doing this. Can I just go for a run by myself? So find out what does your child's body works with, and then lead them in that direction. Create opportunities in that sport for them. The other thing I mentioned earlier is that recognize your child's going to be sore. Once they play really well, they're going to be sore. They might hurt somewhere. There's a lot of growing pain. Their legs will hurt because everything is getting stretched out and getting bigger and stronger. This is part of the game. What you can do is you can sustain, you can help, and you can nourish them by feeding them healthy foods. We will talk about food in a bit. But I remember growing up that if I ever did something physically, like moving something, I would get pains exactly 4 hours later somewhere or the next day. And then I would get the impression from my mother, you shouldn't have done that. This is what happens when you do this. So what did I do? Stop doing it. So I thought that all the physical stuff is supposed to be done by men because they don't hurt. You know why? Because they keep doing it and they don't stop. So there's this idea that pain is bad. Yes, pain is bad. Pain is bad, but controlled, conditioned, moving your body is very good. And that pain is actually a sign that you are getting stronger because you're breaking down old muscle, weak muscle, and building strong new muscle. So when you don't freak out and you tell your child, you know what, take a bath, let's have some warm milk, eat some protein, and you will feel better tomorrow, and maybe go back again the next day and do the same thing again, you will feel better. They will not freak out. So you will create that conditioning for them, that how they look at physical activity. Now I want to bring the conversation into something that I believe should be in every parenting book. And it is a huge disservice that parents are not aware of how their child's nervous system works. When I first learned about this, I was so mad. So mad. I cried for days because I was like, how come I did not know that? I could have helped my child. I could have helped myself because I didn't know what was going on. You never know what is going on. What the hell is going on with the kids? Why are they acting like this? Why are they behaving like this? The central nervous system has 3 modes. At all times, we are in one or the other mode. At all times. It is never ending. That's how it goes. The sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, as much as the name sounds like it's very friendly, it's actually the opposite. It's the negative side. It's the fight or flight system. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, we feel fear. We feel anxious. We get angry very quickly. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases, your adrenaline is pumping, your pupil size get bigger. Anybody familiar when your kid is throwing a tantrum? That's what they look like. They can't breathe. They're talking, they're crying, they don't understand anything. And it's just like you can't shake them out of it. That's fight or flight. The parasympathetic nervous system has 2 modes. You have the safe mode where you feel safe when your child is feeling safe, and you feel the same thing. It's the same system for everyone. You are calm. You can feel your emotions. You can trust people easily. You don't question people. You are open and curious. What also happens when you are feeling safe psychologically, your nervous system does not feel like, oh my God, somebody's coming to get me and I'm going to die. Your digestion is increased. Your digestive system works really well. Your immunity is high. You can sleep, you can rest, your body can recover. Your body releases oxytocin, which allows you to connect with other people. Do you know how when your kid's having a tantrum or your kid's really upset and they treat you like they don't know you and they don't care, right? That's the oxytocin is not there. They cannot connect with other people. They really have to protect themselves. And then we have fight, flight, and then we have freeze and shut down, which is also called fawning. When your kids act as if they're out, they're completely out. They have numbed out their emotions. There's no hope left. They don't feel anything. Everything is disassociated from their brain and from their body. They don't feel their body. They feel depressed. They feel sad, and they feel lonely. They feel like something really bad has happened, and this is it. They will have a low heart rate. Their blood pressure will be low. Their body will start to become colder. They will have decreased muscle tone. So if you touch them, they'll be like really limp. They will not make eye contact. You can see from their facial expression that they are not here. You know how we can tell when we look at our kid, we're like, oh, you're not listening to me. They've zoned out. And at times they can't even hear people. When we are in the freeze and shutdown mode, we can't hear people. So people could be talking to us and nothing is going in. Remember the times when you're lecturing your kid because something happened and you were really upset, and after 25 minutes of lecturing, you walk away, and then the next day you're like, so what do you remember from what I said? And they're like, nothing. And you're like, I cannot believe you don't remember nothing? And they're like, no. That's what happened. Their system shuts down. The reason why understanding this is so important, that anything that you will do with your child, from sleeping to eating to taking a nap to going and seeing grandma to going to school, getting homework done, getting good grades, making friends, praying, and soon fasting, everything that we do happens within these 3 states. And that's a lot to be going on. The system can switch from calm to fight or flight. A very easy example would be when your child is really upset and angry at you and you try to move them. What happens? Their body feels really tight. But when your child drops down on the floor and they are now just screaming and crying and you try to pick them up and their body's limp. It's the fight or flight on one side when the body gets really rigid, and it's like they are so strong. and then disassociation where the body's limp. So I would suggest that now that you are aware of this, start looking around at your kids and see what state they're in. The more you practice this, you will get so good at it because you already know them so well. And what this will do is this will tell you, oh, my kid is afraid right now. What am I going to do when my kid is afraid? I'm not going to yell at them or tell them what they did wrong. I'm going to let them feel safe. When the child shuts down, feels trapped, lonely, depressed, I know what to do. These will make parenting easier for you. And I'm saying this from personal experience. My parenting style has changed so much within the last year and a half. At times, I have to pinch myself because I would have reacted very, very, very differently when I did not know what my kid's nervous system was going through. And now I modulate my behavior based on, oh, okay, so my daughter is really upset and she's not feeling good. What should I do right now? This is and the more you try it, you'll be amazed at, oh my God, what is happening here? Because it's like as if you got a magic wand. There's no magic wand, but this works really well if you try it. So question is, the other aspect that many parents struggle with, it's a very, very, very common problem right now, and kids ages sometimes 2 to 3 start displaying a lot of worry and anxiety in their behavior, and we don't have a language for that because our culture typically is not very keen on diagnosing, which is fine. We don't need to diagnose. We just need to be there and be compassionate. I struggled a lot with these symptoms with my kids when they were in elementary and middle school. So I couldn't get anything done. Getting up to go to school in the morning was a pain. Doing any activity, even if they really wanted to do it in the beginning, we signed up for so many sports camps, so many activities that they would be very excited to go to. And when it was time to go, it was a struggle. I had to drag them out. Everything was almost like a fight. Kids worry and fear a lot. They just don't have a language to express that. And they cannot come and say to you like your friend or your spouse or your mom or your sister would say, you know what, I'm really anxious about this. I'm very worried about this. They don't have the language, so they won't say that. What they will do is they will act out like this. They will not remember where things are. They will have difficulty sleeping in. Defiant behavior. One thing that's really, really common, headaches and stomach aches. Out of nowhere, your kid will be like, my belly's hurting. My stomach is hurting. I don't feel good. Crying. Not knowing what's going to happen. When my 10-year-old started questioning me, what are we doing today? Where are we going? Who's going to be there? How long are we going to be there? What time are we leaving? As if she wanted my itinerary for the day. I freaked out. I'm like, why do you need to know all this? You're with me. But it was a worry part that she was constantly thinking. The other thing that we think is a very good thing, especially in our culture, when your child sets really high standards for themselves, for school, that I can only have a 95 or a 97 in a test, we feel really good. We're like, wow, my kid really values all of this, which is, they do. But then that starts to spill over in everything. They have to look perfect. They have to feel good all the time. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be here. Then it starts to become a behavioral problem. And it becomes hard for them to function every day. So as a parent, when you see these behaviors and you have gained the awareness that the nervous system is fluctuating here, we can use that information to sit down, talk to them, ask questions, and try to give into the need that's present at that time. So the big question is, what can a parent do about this automatic system, right? That's what they call the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. The good news is this, that it's not automatic. You have a lot of control over it. You can control your nervous system and your child's nervous system, right? It's the best news for a parent. Oh my God. The most beautiful thing is this, that their system is connected to your system. So they are not operating on their own. So the way you take in a bad scenario, something that went wrong, the way you take it, their system is going to mirror your system. The mirror neurons in our brain, that's what they do. They copy the other person's behavior. And you as a parent have a very strong connection with your child. So if you're calm, they will be calm. If they are at a 3 and you meet them at an 8, there's nothing good is going to come out of it. Understanding and paying attention to the signs of fatigue and exhaustion in your own life. Who can, I'm going to raise my hand before I even pose the question. When I'm tired and hungry, I'm not a good mother. I cannot be a good mother. It's just, it doesn't happen. I'm not trying to do it bad. I'm just tired. My system is exhausted right now. I have nothing to give. So when this happens, what can we do? One practice is to let your child know, hey, I'm going to take a few minutes. I don't feel good right now. I'm going to be sitting in my bed, or I'm going to have a cup of tea, or I'm going to take a few minutes. I want to listen to you and I want to be here for you, but I need a few minutes. And 10, 15 minutes away can be a huge difference. Don't deprive yourself of that. Because what happens is that when we do give in at that time, when we're exhausted, and we deal with our kids' problems at that time, we do a pretty bad job. And that's not it. That's not the bad part. The bad part is the guilt that we deal with afterwards. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. How many times I wanted to just disappear because I acted in a way in front of my kids that did not make me feel good about myself.
Go to your room, I'm coming.
So take a break. It is okay. You're actually not doing it just for yourself. You're setting a great example for your child, that when they feel dysregulated, they can say to your friend, hey, listen, you know what? I'm not feeling good right now. I'm going to take a few minutes and then I'm going to come back and talk to you. We are going to model this for our kids so they can do it too. So they're not operating on empty. Having compassion for yourself and your kids and acceptance is the most important thing you can do for your kids. The world is rejecting them. The world can be cruel. The world can be nasty. The world can be unsafe. Okay, doesn't matter. You and their house has to be the safe place for them. And when you create that environment, they will be better able to handle the unpredictable life outside the house. So let's make a turn towards, we understand how the nervous system operates. We're also learning that we should also take breaks as parents. How can we sustain all this physical and mental growth that's happening in our kids? By feeding them whole foods. Anything nature has created has sufficient amounts of nutrients and fiber in it that can sustain your child. More whole foods in your diet, better for your kids. Fiber is so important. I cannot stress enough how many times I've talked to young mothers and their kids are so badly constipated. Fiber is fundamental for a healthy digestive system. And now we know that there's a direct connection between our brain and our gut. So, and it's not that the brain is sending signals to the gut, it's actually the other way around. It's your gut's microbiome that's sending signals to your brain on how you should be feeling right now. So when your kid is constantly cranky and not feeling well and not sleeping, bad mood, can't get stuff done, look at what they've been eating or drinking. Protein is very important. Healthy fats are very important. Please, unless your doctor has asked you to give your child fat-free stuff, please do not feed them fat-free. They need these essential oils for their brain, muscle, and bone growth. Fresh fruits and vegetables, anything. Our ethnic foods are actually very healthy and rich in nutrients. Less processed food, less sugar. I've given talks at Al-Hamra with the kids, and they all know me that they say that I actually told them they can tell their mom they can have a dessert once, two or three times in a week. But the point is that you don't want to be miserable. You still want to have some fun with your food, but most of the time, 90% of the time, your diet should be on point to sustain you, to nourish you. Be very careful with the sodas and juices. They're very addictive. With the caffeine and sugar, it's the combination that the brain just craves. A lot of the sports drinks and sodas have caffeine in them. And what caffeine does, it gives them a lot of focus. They become very springy, great. And then the bell curve comes down, and then they crash and they don't feel good. And then you have to deal with that. So be very careful. Do not give them sodas, sugar-laden soda, especially. With the awareness that we have in our culture now, there are a lot of fruit juices out there that have no added sugar in them. So if your child really likes drinking that, then sustain that with that. Sleep, so very important. The body cannot grow. The brain cannot function. Actually, yeah, the brain cannot function without getting rest. And sleep is really all about regulation. How do you regulate your sleep and your child's sleep? It's so important to the point that kids who do not get enough sleep, like, a 3 to 5 year old should get at least 10 hours. 13 to 18-year-old teens should get at least 8 hours. It would be great if they can get 10 hours. And when they don't, you can tell the difference in your child. It's a very different child when they don't get sleep. With the younger kids, you have the advantage that you can put them for a nap during the day, which is great. I would highly encourage that when your kids are home, even older kids, try to create this setup where, hey, why don't you go take a nap? A nap even of 20 to 30 minutes. Recent studies have shown that kids, when they are preparing for a test and they sit down and study for 35, 40 minutes to an hour, and then they go and take a 15 to 20 minute nap, they're able to retain that information in their brain even a week later, compared to going and watching TV or keep studying for hours on end or doing something else. So sleep habits are so important, and all the physical activity, all the healthy eating, all the nervous system regulation is only going to do the magic when you put sleep in there, because the system needs to stop so that it can restart all over again after rest. I wanted to, actually, I'm going to go back to the previous, I'm just going to add something here. Ramadan is coming up. Kids are going to want to fast, which is great. It's a great way to regulate your nervous system and to have control over it. I would suggest that for suhoor, please give kids protein and healthy fats, eggs, avocados. If they don't want an elaborate meal, egg and avocado on a toast, 2 toasts, make a sandwich. If they like bagels, do that on a bagel. Peanut butter, some jelly, or maybe some fresh fruit, milk, yogurt, but make sure that they get enough protein and fat. Fat is so fundamental in hunger suppression. They will not feel very hungry very quickly if they have good, healthy fat in their system. If your child can have hummus, you can pour some olive oil on that and have some whole wheat bread with that. That's great to have for suhoor too. But make sure that you add some sort of healthy fat with protein, and not just load up on carb. Carb is great, but carb is not going to last the whole day. Fat will. And protein will keep making you feel like you have something in your system. So you will not get hungry very quickly. And for iftar, as much as we want to create all these amazing cultural dishes that are fried or, have a lot of sweet, it's good and fun, but you still need to replenish the protein and the fat and the carbohydrates. Fresh vegetables are very good. Rice, some sort of grain, any kind of meat, fish, and water. So see what your child likes, have them, suggest what they would like to eat and try different things. But healthy fat and protein is very, very important and easily gets overlooked because there's so many varieties of carbs, and carbs are just so delicious, right? They feel good instantly. So that's it on my end. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear if you have any comments or questions, some clarification, any feedback.
I had a question.
Yes.
So my question is, for the daily activity for the kids to, be physically moving around, does it always have to be structured, or can it just be like you take them to the playground and let them play together with friends?
It's great if structured activity, some sort of structured activity is actually very good because it strengthens the neural connection. But there is still so much that is outside of that can still be so helpful. Just hanging out with friends is such a great feeling. Strengthening social connections, going out in the park, getting the fresh air. All of this is great. So I would suggest that as much as you do want some structured activity, whatever you can throw in, free play, whatever sort of play, that's great. Definitely. I'm just reading the question, the messages on the chat here.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so informative. I feel like a pretty crappy parent right now. But I think this was so helpful, like all these tips that you gave and the connection of the mind and brain. And I never thought of executive functioning as like a side effect of the lack of movement, right? So that was also important to hear. We have a question.
We have a question, yes.
You can unmute yourself and just ask that question, sister.
Mariam, thank you so much. I was just talking to Eliza the whole time, and I apologize. I kept looking over at her because it's like the value you bring to this conversation and this objective. It's so awesome because even me seeing you with the kids there, all ages, it's like just being able to speak in different languages and see their activities. I mean, it really resonated today, the feedback you shared about how you see, even with your own family. I mean, so I appreciate that. And then the thing you just said right now, like just hanging out with friends, just doing something different in that day. It got me thinking, like during the pandemic, because I was so harsh on myself. I only have one kid, but I come from a family of 5. I'm the eldest of 5 kids, and we were born here in this state, and my mom had a daycare for like 25 years. So I realized something you said about, even the simplicity and like just those small things like hanging out with friends or the good feeling one gets. It's such a big deal for them, and I think the pandemic in particular really brought it to my mind, like, gosh, just getting outside and like throwing the ball or like playing badminton for like 10 minutes if it's really hot, or walking out when it's really cold. Like, these are the things that keep them active. It's just got to be something. And I guess I really wanted to be on this talk that you were holding because, and I'm in the business of seeing people and, children and adults and development. And I can also see after so many years, and even me growing up here, like the difference, people
Yes.
just look different, and the kids, and I'm like, well, what do we do? What should we stop doing? And I have to look at myself first. I've got to look at her too. And I'm just like, man, we really got to, look at things again. I think our religion is such a big deal too, because it really teaches us the simplicity of life, diet, exercise, just the mundaneness, what we call mundane, but it's actually life.
It is
So
life.
I appreciate everything. It really was beautiful. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I find that I'm speaking from a very cultural point of view here, because we bring our culture to our life. Our life is ingrained in our culture, the way we are raised. When I studied religion and philosophy, I was really into it. And that part of my personality was very well nourished. But what happened is that when I started real life, when I had my first child, I was so out of my body that I suffered. I did not have any physical strength. I was sick a lot. Sick a lot. I was hurting everywhere. There were so many physical issues, things that had never occurred to me because I had never had to use my body that way. And I started working out. I became the personal trainer because I was sick and tired of being in this body that couldn't keep me going. It was my body was standing in my way to be the mother that I wanted to be and to be the person that I wanted to be. And I couldn't figure it out. So once I started working out, and I would go back and see to how it would relate in Islam and where does Islam stand on that. And I was just dumbfounded because our culture, if you look at the life of the Prophet, he was raised as physically very, very active. He was raised in the desert with the Bedouins. That's what they did. These kids were sent out there for one reason and one reason alone. It was so that they could be physically strong. So what we do is we throw the baby with the bathwater, because this is a Western culture and all this stuff is very Western. It looks very, the clothing, the music, there's so many barriers that we want to stay away from. We don't want to be a part of it. We don't want to include that in our life. So we reject the goodness in there too, which is taking care of your body, strengthening your body, taking the time for yourself. So, and we don't suffer by ourselves, by the way. When you're a mother, whatever you do, that's the blueprint for how your kid is going to be. And that's where the heartbreak happens. This is just not acceptable. So as a parent and as a mother, it is so important for us to create these systems in our life by doing them ourselves and creating opportunities for our kids where they feel like moving your body, physically being active is part of life. It's not something I'm doing extra. It's not extra. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet. And this is not something extra. This is who you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're supposed to be. And as a parent, this is our job to normalize that in our culture, because it's not a part of our culture. Especially for women, it's not a part of our culture. And the side effects of that go from generation to generation. And you can be the first raindrop. You can change the system by working on yourself, taking care of yourself. Just go for a walk. Don't do anything big. Don't commit for anything. You don't need a gym membership or an outfit or headphones or fancy water bottle. Just go for a walk at the park, public park, your local park. Just do it day after day after day. Bring your kids with you. Have them bring their skates, bring their ball, bring whatever. It's the same concept of bringing everybody together and doing something. And that's how you normalize something. That's how you make it. That's how you condition it. So I'm very, very thankful to all of you for listening to stuff that I had to share. I understand that is a lot of information. But I believe that moms are superheroes. Their desire to do well for their kid is at times overwhelming and unrealistic. So whatever you have sustained, you're based on your executive functioning. Please use that. Take one thing and just focus on that and try to implement it in your everyday life. And you will raise not just happy and healthy kids, you will raise kids with a very strong bond because you're doing physical things together. And that has a direct impression on their brain. That's how the brain forms connections, by doing something physically. So thank you so much. It was a great opportunity, and thank you, Shima, for asking me. I enjoyed the whole process, and I hope it's helpful, and I hope you guys can remember something and just work on it.
Sister Mariam, can I ask you a question? Malika here.
Yes. Where are you? Okay, I'm trying to find you.
Oh, I'm like, I think.
Oh, okay, there. I see you. Yes, yeah. Malika, I see you. Yes.
So me and Jenna want to know, when are you coming back for Girls on the Run?
Oh,
Coach Mariam back.
It might be. I know. I don't know. Hey, I'm back in the States now.
So good. I know, right?
Right?
Like
No Florida anymore.
Aisha, that was like the best Girls on the Run.
That was a great time. I will see. I am starting my internship actually. Not Al-Hamra. I am starting my internship at Shrewsbury Youth and Family.
Mashallah. Okay.
Yes, because I have to do practicum and 2 internships for my degree.
Okay.
So I'm starting in May, which is a year-long process. So I will be working throughout the year.
Okay.
So I will see what I can do, but it's a lot easier for me to take time outwards, like activities like
You're
this.
not at YMCA either anymore, right? You're not at YMCA anymore?
I go there to work out every day, but I don't work there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I am just working on myself. That's what I do.
I know we all should do that, right?
Yes. I think that's, yeah. So I'm not working anywhere. I will be starting at the Shrewsbury Youth and Family in May, inshallah. Yeah. Yeah. But I miss you guys too. You are great. It's a great community of people who really care about their kids. So we're very lucky to have that.
Thank you, Mariam. This was really informative and eye-opening to some level. We really, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
And thank you for your time. It's so hard for anybody to take out extra time out of their day. So we appreciate that and all the gems that you gave. We would love to do a part 2 sometime.
Yes.
Later after Ramadan.
Yes.
But I appreciated your tips for Ramadan, especially because there's such an eagerness on the kids' part to fast. And I think just keeping in mind that, a protein and fat heavy diet, that simplifies it.
Yes.
Focusing on that. Thank you. If we don't have any other questions, I'm going to let Mariam go. And on behalf of everybody here, thank you so much, Jazakallah khairan, for your time and effort.
Shima, there was just one question. If this was recorded, when and how or where will it be shared?
Yeah, if they want to send an email, we can share the recording with them, if that's okay with you, Mariam.
Yes, I'm okay with sharing the recording, yes.
Thank you. So I think it was Sister Iman. If you can email PTO, inshallah, we can share the link. And whoever wants to see the recording, please just email us and we'll share the link with you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Alrighty. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.